Good evening, everybody. What is going on? Light the beacons. Football is back. Fall camp is in across the SEC. We got a lot to talk about tonight. It is going to be a ton of fun. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It is great to have each and every single one of you with us here on Biscuits and SEC Live. This, our 97th show. So, Hammer, it is hot as Hades across the South right now. It's like, feels like 107 or something in Texas. So, how are you doing in Virginia? What's going on up there?
Not too bad. You're missing. You're getting too beat down with the heat. It was didn't even hit 90 today, so we're doing all right. It was rainy, rain this morning, so that brought the cool weather with it. It's been humid, but that's about it. Not too bad. Not too bad. But I'm good. I'm excited to talk A&M and Arkansas tonight. We got to talk Arkansas a little bit earlier today, as we teased on social media. That video will be coming out later this week. So we got a lot of things we're working on that we're cooking up, and they're in the hopper. So exciting things for Biscuits and SEC as we start the season.
Lots of exciting things, no doubt about it, on the horizon. One thing that is not really on the horizon anymore, well, some work ahead of you, is closed on a home. So congratulations to Hammer. Everybody in the chat, give him a few claps. Closed on his first home, so he will be moving in. He's got a little bit of work, I think, to do on this home. Not that it's in too bad a shape, but the flooring he's going to be doing some DIY on. So he's got some work ahead of him on that front.
Yes, yesterday, wife and I closed on a house, so we'll be moving in there shortly. Our stuff is getting dropped off next week. In the meantime, we'll see how much we can get done. But yeah, we're putting in all new flooring in like 3/4 of the house and repainting it. So I got a lot of DIY stuff ahead of me. I was at Home Depot last night, and I pretty much sold them out of the specific type of flooring that we were getting. I bought 43 cases of it. So we're getting started. I guess that's home ownership.
There you go. That it certainly is. I'm doing my own housekeeping around here. I've got one of the two curtains that I bought for my office so that I can finally stop having to worry about the sun beating down like I'm in Jerry World at Cowboy Stadium. So we're fixing that problem. One problem at a time is getting fixed here at Biscuits and SEC. Hammer alluded to this. We have launched a new series. It's called Biscuits and SEC Extra, or Extra Biscuits from Biscuits and SEC. Is the government name for it. That's everything that we can't fit into an hour on here. So we're doing this for an hour a week. There may be some tweaks in that in the future, or we need to figure that out in terms of potentially, adding more shows or what have you. But for now, every Wednesday night, you guys know where to find us. It's right here at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. And now you can get even more Biscuits and SEC on YouTube as we've launched our Extra Biscuits series. So this week, we had our first guest on. This is what the cover looks like. So if you're on our YouTube, just search for extra biscuits. We've also got a folder for it as well, a playlist if you want to go check that out. So our first one was with Chris Marlar, Vern_Funquist there across social media. Does a great job covering the Gamecocks. Locked On Gamecocks is his podcast, and then he's also down there in Baton Rouge with 1045 ESPN and with LouisianaSports.net. So it does a ton of good work for them as well. So we had a blast. We had a ton of fun on this one. And then today we recorded, this one's not yet done, but to tease it for you, we had Reagan Scarda on from Inside Arkansas, and she does a great job covering the Razorbacks, who we're excited to dive into a little bit more here tonight. But y'all be sure you can check out all their social media right there. Marlar there on the right, and then Reagan on the left at Reagan Scarda, RAEGANSKARDA on X, and then Razorback Updates on Instagram. And then she also does some great work for Inside Arkansas. So be sure to check that out when it pops. Should pop tomorrow on our YouTube channel for a deep dive into the Razorbacks with Reagan. So those are going to be fun. We're going to have more coming out as well on Extra Biscuits. Just we're working on some previews, anything and everything. So it's not just going to be football too. Obviously we're Biscuits and SEC, as we talk about all the time. Love Southern culture, and everything that goes into that, plus the SEC football piece of that and SEC athletics. So we're trying to marry the two here. So there will be some more that comes from Extra Biscuits that isn't just football related, but more Southern culture, Southern cuisine, that sort of thing. Yes, thank you, Mike. Much appreciated. He also had a good comment in here I saw earlier. Biscuits to Broadway. Yes, the movement has not died, Mike. Check it out. Hashtag free biscuits there in the corner, as you can see. And right there, Biscuits to Broadway. We are coming for you, Nashville, for SEC Media Days in 2027. The movement that will not die. Join the movement. It is growing and growing and growing. So, Marler, funny guy. Shavy's not high on us this year. He was higher than I thought. You know, I think he said 8-4. He was feeling it. Go watch it. I would say go check it out. He had some good things to say, and he was excited about where the roster was. So I would check it out to see where his thoughts are and at least what he told us. So, okay,
yeah,
everybody.
If you want to see any of those trap game shorts, you can see obviously at the bottom there at Biscuits and SEC across all that. Those are shorts. They're on our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Got to get back to doing that. I haven't posted one in a couple of days, but we will get back on it. So yeah, we're trying to pump out a lot of content. So appreciate all the love and support, and we will keep putting it out there.
Definitely. And one other thing we're doing in terms of content, as always, everybody, if you're new here and do not subscribe, or if you're not new here and do not subscribe, the newsletter, Morning Biscuits newsletter. Hammer got that out this morning, did a great job on it. That is everything you need to know what's going on around the SEC and around the country. Biscuitsandsec.com/newsletter to sign up. Always free to sign up, so be sure to check that out. Just comes to your inbox and keeps you updated on everything that's going on. We get a ton of great feedback from it, and we think you will enjoy it as well. So, all right, man, let's get right into it. We got a lot of ball to talk tonight. One thing that we did want to touch on before we get into our Biscuit Index ratings is Curt Cignetti in Indiana. You were all over this. I've seen a little bit on it. I want to get your thoughts on just what the Cignetti was all over the SEC, taking shots at the SEC at Big Ten Media Days, and about the schedule, about the depth of the conference, what have you. He was just kind of taking pot shots. So then they go and they cancel the home and home with Notre Dame, which was coming up in the future. And they're taking a lot of flack for that, kind of hypocritical, what have you. So I want to hear your thoughts on it and just your general overview of what's been happening over the course of the last week.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think as you mentioned, so for those of you that read our newsletter, that we kind of led with this. It was a pretty slow week, but we did lead with, kind of Big Ten Media Days, Cignetti, because he was kind of the only one making headlines, I suppose, at least that didn't have to do with like court cases and Congress, which is not really what I want to be talking about in the newsletter or on this show. So my thoughts on Cignetti, to kind of summarize what I said in the newsletter, the guy just won a national championship in Indiana. He can say whatever he wants. He has every right to talk smack. Totally fine. It looks really weak, though, when you talk that smack and say we're about earning it and we don't run a hype machine, and then you run away from Notre Dame. So I thought we were about earning it on the field, but I guess not, because we're going to not earn it on the field to some degree. Obviously, they still play a 9-game conference schedule, and to win a national title, you have to earn it on the field. They dominated last year. It just comes across as very hypocritical to me to go on that rant and say, we don't run a hype machine, we're about earning it on the field, and then you have a great opportunity, granted, 4 years from now, but that's a great opportunity to earn it on the field against one of the biggest brands in the sport. It's probably not up to Curt Cignetti completely to cancel a game like that. I'm not naive to how athletic departments are run, but the timing is just pretty bad to go up there and, puff your chest out and say that, and then cancel that game a couple days later. So that's kind of my read on it. I mean, again, he can kind of say what he wants, but I thought it looked bad.
Well, so my man here, Asian Persuasion 9646. Love the YouTube name, man. That's great. Did Indiana play anyone decent in their non-con? LOL. I don't think so, and I think that's kind of the piece of this, right? Is that okay? They get rid of Notre
That's the
Dame,
playbook.
yeah, and now they're going to play nobodies, in their other three games. And so that's what, other teams are saying, like, hey, there's SEC teams have committed to playing, one game out of conference against the Power Four, and you guys are now kind of just washing that stuff away. And while at the same time, you're going to schedule the cupcakes or whatever, and now at the same time you're throwing shade at the SEC and talking all this smack and bravado about, well, you got to earn it on the field. And so I thought it looked weak as well. I'd have to look. I didn't look at Indiana's schedule and into the future here, but I'm pretty sure, a glance at it's nothing crazy. To your point, though, Hammer, I
No,
have looked
they
at
don't
Indiana's
play a Power
schedule.
Five opponent.
There you go. So
Yeah,
come on, that is weak when SEC teams are. I mean, look at what SEC teams are doing. Go look at SEC teams into the future here, right? We've got some great games this season already. When you've got Oklahoma and Michigan early in the year, you've got Texas and Ohio State. A&M is playing Arizona State, so even Mississippi State and Minnesota early in the year, right? Going to be a fantastic game.
I think the whole scheduling thing too. Not to really dive into this and take us on a tangent, but I've always felt this way, even when the SEC was at 8 conference games. Is take Indiana, for example, or Ohio State, or name a Big Ten program. None of them would trade schedules with a single SEC schedule, even at the 8 conference games.
No.
They just wouldn't. So, again, that doesn't discount what the Big Ten's done. They've won 3 national titles in a row. They have elite programs. They are plenty capable of winning big time games against SEC teams or otherwise, and they don't necessarily need to be playing, the toughest schedule, I guess, to show that. But I just think you're talking out of 2 sides of your mouth, right? Oh, we're going to earn on the field. The Big Ten is now the best conference, whatever. None of those coaches would change schedules with any SEC schedule, especially, as you mentioned, now the SEC's at 9 games and committed to playing a 10th Power 4 opponent. It's nonsense to even say stuff like that, and then do it. I mean, I like Cignetti likes to talk. I wish he would just come out and say there's no point in scheduling a Power 4 opponent. Why would we? Because that's the truth. I don't know why the SEC's doing it, but they are. And yet you still have people like Cignetti, talking about the SEC in his Big Ten Media Days appearance. I don't really understand what the point of that was.
Yeah, I'll say this as a fan, I love these games. I get it from a perspective of, if the Big Ten is going to commit to play that 10th game, and that, the 10th game there is going to be an out of conference Power 4 opponent, I'm all in for that. ACC should do the same, right? The Power 4 should agree that we should have one game at least be from outside of our conference and with a Power 4. And because that's great for the fans. I'm sorry, I don't want to see the Citadel. I don't care about watching the Citadel. I don't care about watching Kennesaw State, you know? So these games are great for fans. Also, I was on Sooner Smiths the other night, which if y'all missed that episode, I tell a Johnny Manziel story, I had a lot of fun telling it, and takes me back down memory lane. It was a good memory. I was at the game in 2012 in Tuscaloosa. So go check out that story on Sooner Smiths. But one thing, Chad Smith on there, he was talking about, he's one of the hosts, he was talking about just kind of how you really want to be the schedule of the SEC, you just get beat up by the end, and how the SEC championship, we kind of want to it's probably going to get done away with because these teams are the national championship and the college football playoff is now more important. And uh, my whole thing, I agree with him. I didn't get to make this point on the show. I agree with him to in the sense that I understand the argument, but from a fan perspective, man, I want more football. I'm not gonna hate on more football. You know what I mean? Like I want more football. Period. I'm gonna watch the SEC championship. I'm gonna watch all these games, and into the playoffs. So like the only time that I'm against more football, pretty much, is if we expand the playoff because I'm done. 12 is good. Period. End of story. We're done. I don't want to go to 16. I don't want to go to 24. But other than that, I'm all for more football and better football. So let's get outside. Let's stop playing the Citadels of the world, and at the very least, schedule one Power Four opponent outside of your conference schedule. So, all right, I think we've talked enough about this, man. Let's get into what everybody's here for, the Biscuit Index ratings. This is our second to last one. If you've been with us, we have done these now. This is week number 7 that we've done these leading up to the start of the season. So tonight we've got the Arkansas Razorbacks, which again, we've got a great preview of the Razorbacks coming up with Reagan Scarda on Biscuits and SEC Extra. If some of you guys joined us a little bit late, we recorded that earlier today. So that is likely coming out tomorrow, maybe at the latest early Friday, but we're getting a bunch of these recordings in. So y'all be sure to go follow her on social media to check out her coverage of the Razorbacks, and we'll get that posted as soon as possible, and you'll see it all over social media once we get it out there. So Hammer, that leads me in, man. I want to hear what you're thinking about Arkansas, because to tell you the truth, Reagan started to help me earn my knowledge, and my knowledge base started to grow with what she was telling me. But to tell you the truth, man, I still don't know a whole lot, and I need your help on Arkansas. So your biscuit rating for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Let me give you the drum roll. Ooh.
4.
Ooh.
And I had to put Coach Cal. I have no idea. So if that gives you any indication as to, the outlook perhaps for the Razorbacks this year, I don't think it's that great. So I got them at 4 biscuits. And really, Auburn fans, I'm sorry y'all had a 3. So Arkansas is even better than you. Perhaps that's unfair.
Or on Auburn.
Perhaps that's unfair. But Arkansas has been to bowl games recently and won 9 games in 2021, and Auburn hasn't even come close. So
I'm pretty sure Arkansas.
That's my rationale behind it.
I'm pretty sure Arkansas has a pretty good record against Auburn in recent years too. I'm pretty sure I heard the stat today.
Either way,
So go ahead.
Things are bleak right now in Fayetteville. Coming off a 2-10 season, 0-8 in the SEC, it's very bleak. But again, we're looking at a 5-year history. So, anywho, I give them a 4. They had a 9-win season in 2021, which I'm still factoring in. They were 7-6 in 24. They were 7-6 in 2022. So they've been punching around and have 3 winning records in the last 5 years. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yes, there's a lot of things going against them, and we can kind of get into this. So 4, the description is there aren't many worse than us. We've got a long way to go. Your third cousin sent some mix in the mail, and you bake them, eat half of one, and throw it out. So that's kind of where we are with Arkansas. Again, I mentioned they've had 3 winning records overall the last 5 years. However, they're certainly on a downward trend, not just with the record last year going 2-10, but also with their recruiting and their talent, acquisition. Oddly enough, the transfer portal, NIL, all of that stuff, especially the more established it has gotten, the harder it has gotten for Arkansas, or I suppose the worse Arkansas has gotten at those kind of new talent acquisition strategies. I don't know if that was a negative recruiting against Sam Pittman because he was sort of, on the hot seat for a couple of years, but their recruiting really fell off. You can see the blue chip ratio at 13%. That's 15th in the SEC. Only Vanderbilt is worse. You can see their recent results over there, as well as recruiting results, again, trending very much downward, 31, 37, and then this year 45 in the coaching transition. Overall, looking at their recruiting, and their portal, again, not good and trending down. So we're going from 18 recruiting wise in 2022, again, all the way down to 45 or 37, at least in the last year under Pittman. And then the portal, they kind of started out strong, but again, it didn't really, they didn't really maintain it. They dropped to 26, 16, 33 this past year, despite bringing in a ton of guys. And Arkansas, as we have been talking about really the last couple of years doing this show and previewing the Razorbacks, they have not only struggled to attract talent and recruit or draw guys in the portal, I would say up to their standard. I think Arkansas very easily should be a top 20 to 25 recruiting program. And they haven't really been able to do that in the last 3 years, especially 5 years overall. But they have also really struggled in retention. They have just had portal exodus for the last 3 years. Again, maybe that's kind of a negative recruiting thing where people think Pittman was a lame duck. I don't know. We'll see what Ryan Silverfield can do on the retention front, but they've really struggled to keep guys, oddly enough. So trending downward for sure. But that's why you fire Sam Pittman and hire a guy like Ryan Silverfield. As we talked with Reagan today, the initial reception on him was not great. Understandably so, given that Arkansas was publicly in the running for other coaches, and it seemed like they ultimately settled on Ryan Silverfield. However, this is a guy who has been around, has been a head coach for a while. He was 50-25 overall at Memphis, 29-9 in the last 3 seasons, multiple bowl wins over power opponents. So he's experienced. I wouldn't describe him as a young up and comer, I suppose, right? Not that he's old, but he's been in that seat before as a head coach. Memphis is a big time G6 program. So he's not really learning on the fly outside of just the responsibilities are bigger at a program in the SEC than Memphis, but he certainly has experience. So that's why you hire a guy like that, right? Is to try to certainly steady the ship, but just give you some hope moving forwards. So before I hop into, really, really digging in, what do you think? Is 4 fair? Should I have been harder on Arkansas? Do you think I was too harsh? That feels impossible, but let me know what you think.
Well, I did look it up, and it's, I think, 2-2 in the last 4 meetings between Auburn and Arkansas. So I think you can flip a coin to say Arkansas is better or Arkansas is right there with Auburn at 3 biscuits. I honestly, I think I would have gone 3. And the reason for that is because 3 is perennial bottom tier. Them and Auburn right now, and Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt shot up last year. So who's the perennial bottom tier of the SEC right now? It's Auburn and Arkansas. So
yeah, Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Probably those 3, right? And you could argue Auburn's maybe above those 2, or maybe Arkansas above. But Arkansas was 2-10 last year. Mississippi State had a little bit of a better year, right? Auburn fires their coach. Mississippi State goes 5-7, shows a ton of improvement. So if you're ranking the bottom tier of the SEC, Arkansas is at the bottom. So I may have gone 1 down, which 3 biscuits is perennial bottom tier, burned nearly beyond recognition, and better used as a hockey puck. Sorry. Canadian for sorry. So Yeah, I don't know, but it's right there, right? Flip a coin. I would go with three, going with four. I get it. And I think you can argue that because they hired this new coach with Ryan Silverfield, you got a little bit more hope, right? They're even though they protested, his hiring, I think you can still have a little hope with a new
They
coach. I
did.
think there's still a lot of that wasn't the entire fan base who was out there protesting that. So I think there's still some hope with him. He's hit the pavement in terms of trying to get NIL dollars and trying to shore up the donor base. He's come across very well in media interviews. I saw him on the Cube show. I listened to that entire interview. I thought he was great. I thought he was good at SEC media days, handled himself well. So he won the microphone for me, but uh, yeah, it's a uphill battle. Highest mountain to climb in the SEC right now.
It seems to be, which is just odd in a lot of ways, because Arkansas is a proud program. They certainly have resources if they can tap into those. We'll see, but they do have them. Good stadium, but it's a bit of a conundrum, and we'll kind of get into that now. Because like I said, I gave them a 4, and I gave them a slight edge over Auburn because again they've got 3 bowl wins, excuse me, in the last 5 years, 3 winning records out of the last 5. But if I were to project, next year, who do I think is going to have more biscuits? I would certainly say Auburn. I think Arkansas is trending downward. Arkansas or Auburn trending upward. And, when that 2021 9-4 season falls off and you're looking at what I think is going to be another rough season this year, it's a little challenging to see Arkansas, trending upward at the moment. Again, they could hopefully at the end of this year they have some hope, but I don't know that it's going to result in a ton of wins on the field. And I won't spoil the interview we had with Reagan earlier, but she kind of had that same sentiment in that the expectations are not that high in year one for Ryan Silverfield, given the situation he's found himself in. So that situation, peeling the onion back here like we do, facilities, NIL investment, all that stuff. Reynolds Razorback Stadium is a great venue. It's lagging behind in certain respects. They haven't really done a big renovation since 2019, which is fine. Again, I hesitate to say they're lagging behind. It's just they haven't done anything that recently on it. But in 2019, they did a $160 million upgrade, field level suites, luxury suites, club suites, etc., and new locker rooms. So they did that in 2019. They're probably not due for another 3 years or so. Probably get 10 years out of that before they try to do anything. Their facilities, again, I think they're probably really nice, but they are older than most in the SEC at this point. They were built in 2013, and I couldn't find any record of them being redone since then. So again, that's not very outlandish. I'm sure they're very nice. It was brand new in 2013 in the SEC. That feels old. They're 13 years old at this point, and it seems like the big boys, or at least the big spenders like our program and the Aggies, are updating a lot more frequently than 13 years. But
I,
since Ryan Silverfield took the helm,
all I was going to say is,
let's say he got Hunter Yurachek to get LED lights.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's where I was going to, is the LED lights. Like, they just put these in to Razorback Stadium. I saw this like last week, so I just wanted to make sure we got that in there. They're updating LED lights, and maybe some like Wi-Fi, or, some of like the electronics are being updated in Razorback Stadium, which they also got.
Correct.
Was it? They got a deal that Razorback Stadium is going to have a sponsor in front of it. I think it was a $75 million deal. I forget who it was with, but anyway, just like Texas Tech did, Texas Tech renamed Jones Stadium. It used to be like Jones AT&T Stadium. Now it's just Galaxy Stadium. Razorback Stadium now has I forget who the sponsor is, but I know it was like 75 million over 10 years. Some folks thought it was a little bit low for the naming rights, but I think Hunter Yurachek, frankly, got what he could get, because right now Arkansas football is one of the lower sells in the SEC. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the Silverfield, since he's gotten here, pushed for and got LED lights. They redid the sound system. I think probably some Wi-Fi electronic stuff as well. Yeah, the stadium sponsored by Community America Credit Union. So Community America Razorback Stadium. Hopefully, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what the influx, of cash is used for. But that's the world we live in nowadays. Maybe they'll use it to do some upgrades to the stadium. I don't know. But again, I like the stadium. It's great. It's a great environment when the Hogs are good. And even when they're not good, it still gets loud. And it's usually packed. It got a little bleak last year. But generally speaking, it's a good environment. NIL investment, again, kind of hard to get a read here. Like a lot of these programs, this is our 7th week of doing this. Arkansas is basically running the same playbook as everybody else, meaning they had a third-party collective that has shut down since the House settlement. That was Arkansas Edge. I believe that is no longer, functioning. They have partnered with Link U. That's the same company that Ole Miss partnered with. That's kind of a new age marketing apparatus specifically for NIL partnerships and athlete marketing at the collegiate level. So they've partnered with. Ole Miss is crushing everything at the moment. So if you're partnering with the same company as them, you're probably doing something right. So they've got their ducks in a row on the legal NIL front. They do like some of these programs. I think Georgia comes to mind. Georgia has. I can't remember the name of it, but they have a platform like this. There is still an independent marketing arm, I guess. It's not a collective, but it's one of those subscription services that fans can pay for if they want exclusive access to this and that, and it goes toward NIL. That is Choose Arkansas. So they've got that going for it. And why I said it's a little murky here is Arkansas has money, and everybody kind of knows that, right? Walmart, Tyson Chicken, JB Hunt, the transportation and logistics conglomerate. They're all headquartered in Northwest Arkansas. Tyson Chicken's a field level sponsor or on-field sponsor for the Hogs this year. I don't know about Walmart. I don't think they're that involved. But bottom line is there's big corporations and money in Northwest Arkansas. It kind of seems like it's going to basketball right now. That's where the NIL dollars appear to be going. Coach Cal knows what he's doing. He's having success. It seems like that's where it's going. And Pittman, again, maybe was kind of a lame duck. Probably just wasn't getting it. Silverfield talked about this in one of his interviews at SEC Media Days. Again, just that there is money. We just have to tap into it. So I don't know if he's the right guy for that. I don't know what levers you need to pull as a coach, as a program to get that money dedicated to football. But it's pretty clear that basketball is getting money. Sam Pittman was not. We'll see about Silverfield. But again, let's just look at the recruiting results. They are not paying up at a competitive level relative to the SEC counterparts. 15, 15, 14, 11, 10 in the last 5 years recruiting in the SEC, and portal's kind of all over the place. But you're not going to win a lot of conference games if you're recruiting at that level. And I don't know exactly how much money is the only thing that matters anymore in recruiting, but it's a lot of it, right? And so if Arkansas was paying guys, their recruiting classes would look a lot better. So it seems like they just haven't been able to get that. I don't know what they need to do to get over the hump, but the NIL investment is certainly a worry up to this point. Moving on to the staff, the structure. So they do have a general manager who I actually think was a good hire. I didn't, of course, know this until I started looking into it, but a good hire for Silverfield. So they hired, probably going to butcher this name, Gaiska Crowley, who spent the last 2 years as the GM at Arizona, and Arizona's been good. Brent Brennan, coming in after Jed Fish, has done a pretty good job there, despite nobody really thinking they would after Fish left. So I think that's probably a pretty good general manager, certainly coming from a school that, I don't think Arkansas fans see themselves on the same level as Arizona, but just being honest here, like is not a powerhouse program, right? So this guy probably has good experience finding some diamonds in the rough, which Arkansas needs at this point until they show that they can land blue chips.
They couldn't find any money or anything to bring Noah Fafita with him from Arizona. That would have been kind of nice.
Well, it would have been kind of nice, but they found enough money to bring the Memphis starting quarterback, so they'll have to settle for that. Yeah. Hey, he beat Arkansas last year, so think about that.
He did. That's true. Him and the backup, taking 3 linemen all the way through to for a first down on 3rd and 9 or 4th and 9 or whatever that was to win the game.
Exactly. So that's what they got at GM. Athletic director Hunter Yurchek. He seems like a cornball to me, but he's done an okay job. I mean, look, they have Coach Cal. The baseball program's good. The track and field program is good. So overall, I don't think he's a bad athletic director. I know Arkansas fans don't like him, and I understand why. And the football program, which is 90% of what matters, they stunk. They've stunk his whole tenure. So we'll see. Thank you for that, Mike. Yes, they brought the tennis program back. So Hunter Yurchek, actually great athletic director. He cut him and then he brought him back. Snip snap.
Yeah, he should be the Arkansas athletic director, in perpetuity, just for that move itself, for snip snapping, but then bringing them back and doing the right thing.
Right. So the staff, again, I brought up Silverfield coming from Memphis. He's been there for a while. The two guys, obviously, to become familiar with are the OC and DC. Tim Cramsey is the offensive coordinator. Been with Silverfield for years at Memphis. The last 4 years, he's top 25 scoring offense all 4 years. So guy's got a pretty good offensive system. It's a, pre-snap movement, multiple formation, likes to disguise a bunch of stuff type of kind of spread offense, or, a modern college football offense. So they're running, what they run is not going to be antiquated. It should be pretty exciting if you've got the guys to run it at the SEC level. Interested to see how that translates, obviously, to Power 4, but Cramsey has shown himself to be a good offensive coordinator to this point. On defense, kind of went the other direction, right? You're, not internal hire, but bringing your guy from your G6 program. On the offensive side, on defense, he hired Ron Roberts. Reagan did a good job of breaking him down in our interview, so I won't get too deep. But he's longtime defensive coordinator and defensive assistant in the Power 4 across the SEC. He spent time at Baylor when they won the Big 12. He was the DC, so he's been around. When you're a journeyman like that, you've had ups and downs. So I'm not going to say his record is unblemished and it's a home run hire, but he's had some really good defenses and he's had some pretty average ones, and he's been around a long time. So at the very least, he's got a veteran presence on the coaching staff who's been around this league before, and hopefully can help with some of the madness that comes along with being an SEC coach. On to the roster construction. We're probably going to breeze through the end of this because we've got roster construction, what went right, what went wrong, and then what do they need in 26. And I don't even really know what to say. 87% of their roster is new.
I was about to say, so this is it's Quincy Rhodes and who the hell is that guy? Who the hell is that guy? I don't know who this is. Who is this? Who are you? Who is it? Like you got to do deep research to know who these guys are. And that's not me hating on them. I'm sure there will be multiple kids that pop up and end up being, really solid players for the Razorbacks this season. But yeah, 87 guys that are new on this roster, man. Like, hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Like, none of these guys, not only do they not know each other, none of us know who the heck these people are.
Exactly. So it's like I don't even really know what to say about roster construction other than they're all new. They return 4 starters back on offense, 2 on defense. I think that's counting like Jaden Platt as a starter, who he's a solid tight end. Not to disparage him, but I don't know that he was like the starter all year. They have 2 returning starters on the offensive line, and the offensive line last year was interesting because Arkansas ran the heck out of the football, but couldn't pass block to save their life. Taylon Green got his teeth kicked in every game and was running for his life. So they got three new guys to start there. Like you said, Quincy Rhodes comes back on defense. He's an all SEC defensive lineman, but pretty much everybody else is new. So it's just going to be a lot of new faces. On the defensive side, if I had to pinpoint a strategy, they picked up a lot of like former blue chips that never did anything. So maybe they'll pan out at Arkansas. But like they brought in some, former top 200 recruits along the D line. On the offensive side, they kind of went the other way with, there you go, Chris Marshall. So they kind of went on offense more with the G5 guys who were productive, but were G5 guys. So I don't know which strategy is better. I don't know if either one of them is going to work. Chris Marshall is there, though. He was actually a highlight of their portal class. He was ranked a 4-star in the portal, despite all his stops at A&M and Ole Miss and Kilgore Junior College and Boise State. He had a decent year last year. So he was a 4-star in the portal. He's someone to watch. They got a 4-star offensive tackle, Bryant Williams from Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. So he figures to step in and start. Sutton Smith, the running back from Memphis, is kind of a home run hitter. They're excited about him. And then they got a 4-star cornerback, Jaheim Johnson from Tulane. So, I mean, there's names. There's going to be guys playing for Arkansas this fall. But I just don't have
bodies out there on the field.
there's names. Yeah. But I just don't have a ton else on who these guys are. So we'll see. We will see what's going on with the roster construction. Again, this can be pretty quick. What went wrong? What went right a year ago? What went right was the offense. Bobby Petrino ran a heck of an offense. They looking at Pick Six previews, our friend Brett Ciancia, I think is how you pronounce it, does an excellent job. He had them opponent adjusted offense number 2 in the Power 4 and number 1 in rushing. So they were doing a lot right on offense. Taylon Green, I think overall was very good, but obviously he's gone. So leading us to what went wrong. Even on offense, what went wrong mostly was turnovers. Arkansas was minus 11 in turnover margin. So despite the fact that the offense moved the ball well and Taylon Green was pretty dynamic and Omega Blake was good, Mike Washington had over 1,000 yards, they turned the ball over all the time. And they turned the ball over at the worst times as well because they lost 5 games by 1 score. So they were just constantly shooting themselves in the foot. And then the defense was terrible. 129th in scoring defense, allowed over 400 yards a game, allowed 34 points a game. It was really, really, really bad. So It's kind of what went right, what went wrong. What they need in 26, I just kind of said literally everything. As we mentioned, this is a totally new roster. So they need guys to pan out at every position. Yes, thank you, Mike.
They have.
Some of them have probably played. They have. So they need a lot to pan out. If we're going to pinpoint it, again, Reagan brought this up a lot. Like, they need to be better in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They got to be able to stop the run better than they did, and they have to be able not to run the ball better, but just protect the quarterback better than they did a year ago. The new coaching staff needs to work out. Again, I'm pretty skeptical on that long term. We'll see what the early returns are. And then I guess, hey, we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. It's a battle between KJ Jackson and AJ Hill. I think, Jackson is probably who Arkansas fans want to win. And if it is him, I hope it works out. It needs to. So, yeah, man, they need a lot in 2026. But at the same time, I think if your expectations are pretty low, you just need to see some incremental improvement here. And that's kind of what I did to close it out, and then we'll get to the schedule. But how can they earn some extra biscuits? I said, man, obviously win more than 2 games. Can you get to 3 or 4? Can you be competitive, right? That Notre Dame game that ultimately cost Pittman his job looms large. You just got to be around. I mentioned they lost 5 one-score games. So they were competitive in a lot of games last year. Got to be competitive. And then I would love to see them sneak up on somebody. Could be Utah week 2 if we want to look at their schedule, right?
Yeah,
they're going to Utah.
We're
and then, mashed potatoes.
With mashed potatoes.
Go Hogs. So
another great schedule reveal for Biscuits and SEC.
It is. But yeah, just sneak up on somebody, right? Obviously, a SEC win would be huge for morale. But if not, maybe that Utah game. I mean, Utah's got a lot of turnover. Whittingham's gone, so maybe you sneak up on them. But we can't go 2-10 again. So whether it's Utah or whether it's an SEC game, you got to get to 3. And then outside of this, on the field stuff, how they could maybe earn some extra biscuits is can we have a pulse on the recruiting trail or the transfer portal? Can we get any kind of momentum building that there's something coming down the pike? Because that's, I think, the biggest worry right now is just that kind of stagnant, what are we doing mindset that I think a lot of fans have, because there's just not a lot of excitement. They're not bringing in guys that get people excited. And that includes the coaching staff. That could be wrong, but they have to prove everybody wrong and show that they're the right guys for the job. So that's kind of it. I mean, the schedule, again, I don't even know how much you want to break it down. It's an SEC schedule. They go to Utah in the non-con. It's pretty brutal. They get Georgia. They go to Texas A&M. They go to Texas. Those are 3 playoff teams from a year ago. It's not easy. If you're looking for a game you can steal, maybe Tennessee, maybe Missouri, maybe South Carolina at home, maybe Auburn on the road. But it's a tough schedule. What are your thoughts?
It's the SEC. It's going to be a tough schedule, and I know Arkansas is number 1 in the FPI in terms of strength of schedule, right? Hardest schedule in the country according to ESPN FPI. I will say this about it though. Yes, while it's obviously hard, and I think the fact that you have to play Utah, right, one of the better teams in the Big 12, and you got to go on the road to play those guys, and then you have to turn right around and play Georgia in 2 days, as Hunter Yurachek makes it seem like. But, they have to play them at 11 a.m. on the following weekend. But you don't have to go to some of the most difficult environments in college football. So, yes, you got to go to Texas. That's tough. You got to go to Jordan-Hare. Okay, that's tough. But you don't have to go to Neyland. You don't have to go to Bryant-Denny. You're not going to the Swamp. You're not going to Athens. Right? You don't have to go to LSU. You host LSU. So you don't have to go to Williams-Brice.
Yeah.
So yes, the schedule's difficult, but in terms of like your home and away, I'm just looking at this and my shoot from the hip take is, maybe it's based on the fact that the Hogs were so bad last year and have, been trending downward. But when I'm just looking at the balance of it in terms of, what I avoid in the away and what I am getting at home, yes, there's a couple difficult away games, but I'm happy with what I got in terms of that type of draw. Now, again, it's going to be a very difficult schedule. You still have to play some of these teams, even if you have to host them. But overall, I don't know if I would have ranked it number one in FPI, and I know that's based on a bunch of formulas. But uh, yes, it's going to be a hard schedule. There's not a lot of wins out there, but in terms of my draw, I'm happy with what I drew in terms of who I got at home and who I got to go play away. Basically, because of what I avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah. I mean, look, again, I'm hopeful for the Hogs. I hope they can, rally the troops, so to speak, with the fan base. And Silverfield seems like a good dude. Seems like he's saying the right things, but he's got an uphill battle, like you said. Oddly enough, with what Clark Lee is doing at Vanderbilt and what some of these other programs are doing, at this point, that looks like the steepest hill to climb in the SEC. It's climbable. We've seen it done before, but it looks pretty darn steep.
Without a doubt. And I'll say the same thing. Okay, we've had a lot of laughs tonight at Arkansas's expense, but I'm rooting for the Hogs to get back to being a solid football team. I actually loved the turn that damn jukebox on era and Sam Pittman when they were good. That 9-4
Mm-hmm.
season was awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium
Yeah.
was rocking that year. And that was fun to watch. And the social media team was doing a great job. And you got Traylon Burks and Kendall Briles. And there was a little bit of magic. Like the magic came back for a minute to Fayetteville. And I want that to come back. So take it from this Aggie. I do want to see Arkansas good again. It's a historically great program. They have had their moments in the sun. Bobby Petrino, if Bobby Petrino just doesn't get on a motorcycle and puts blinders on when it comes to blondes, maybe there's one of the better programs of the 2000s, right? But that was not the case, and so hopefully, I'm rooting for Ryan Silverfield. I like him so far of what I've seen. So while we've had some laughs at the Hogs' expense, I'm hopeful that it's going to be tough this year, but in the next 2-3 years that he's able to start figuring this thing out, getting the buy-in from the boosters like we talked about, and getting Arkansas back to being a serious
Mm-hmm.
competitor in the SEC and not the easy out that most see them as. And as you mentioned, one more thing to mention here, they really weren't that easy of an out last year. Okay, A&M beat them by 3 points. A&M was a playoff team last year. Arkansas has given
Yes.
us fits for the entirety of our time in the SEC, even though we've won. I think we're like 12-1 against them, but every single one of those games, except for like two, have been razor thin margins. And as you said, they it was 5 or 6 one-score games last year. Like the margin of
Yeah.
error for them was really, really thin. So
Mm-hmm.
the cupboard's bare. It's tough, but it's not that far away from them being, still a serious competitor back in the SEC. So once again, there,
Yeah.
that is Hammer's Biscuit Index rating for the Arkansas Razorbacks. 4 biscuits for the Hogs. Call the Hogs, everybody. Let's see what it looks like in 2026. Great work, Hammer. That was fun to dive into, and I feel like I know a lot more about what's going on in Fayetteville than I did before this because I didn't know a whole
I'm
lot.
glad you feel
Because
that way.
the roster complete, completely
Well, again,
new.
I think I know. Say, I think our friend, Mike's, he sums it up well. Just this is what you can take away from our Biscuits and SEC. They will be playing football, and they will have 11 guys who have
Yep.
played organized football before. Who they will be, have you heard of them before? Hard to say, but they will be playing football.
They're not dropping down to 6 man in 3A. So we'll leave it at that. They're sticking to 11 men. Um, All right. Let's move into our Texas A&M Aggies. I'm wearing my Homer hat tonight because that is where we graduated from. If you're new here, we're Aggies. We cover the whole SEC. We do it as unbiasedly as we can. But tonight, I get to be kind of biased and put on my maroon colored glasses in a way. But I'll try and do this biscuit rating as unbiasedly as I can. I promise I did that. But this hammer, cue up my drum roll here so I can put up my Biscuit Index rating for the Texas A&M Aggies.
All right, let me get you queued up here.
I'm charging up. 9 biscuits for the Texas A&M Aggies. That is right on the same playing field as the Oklahoma Sooners. So next week, in our last week, we will make a graphic here so everybody can see kind of how everybody's lining up to start the season in the Biscuit Index. But 9 is what I got for A&M here. What does that mean? That means, just like Oklahoma before them, dark horse to win the conference, Pillsbury, flaky golden layers, very good. And with a few more layers, they could be elite. So you're right there underneath the elite. And I think, one more good season, you could probably get up there into the elite, talking about 10, 11 biscuits, something like that. 12 biscuits, obviously. What does that mean? 12 biscuits means you are a perennial power, win a national championship. You jump, obviously, right into that 12 biscuit rating. So why does A&M get a 9 here? There's a lot of reasons. Mike Elko, to me, is the biggest one. As you can see on the left-hand corner there, my friend, he represents Mike Elko, our chef here, because Mike Elko is absolutely cooking. And he is on fire right now when it comes to just about everything. The portal, the trajectory of the program at A&M, recruiting, which I'll get into in a second. The blue chip ratio, look at that blue chip ratio right there, 76%. That's number 4 overall in the country. It's number 2 in the SEC. You know who that's better than? I was surprised when I looked at this. That's better than Texas. The University of Texas is actually below A&M when it comes to the blue chip ratio. The only team that's above A&M in the SEC in the blue chip ratio is the number 1 team in the country in terms of the blue chip ratio. That is the Georgia Bulldogs. So UT, I think they're like number 4 maybe, or number 5. They're at 70%. And I wondered about this too, because why everybody's freaking out about Texas's roster, right? Okay, that fine, I get it. They have a really good roster. They paid a lot of money. Cam Coleman, Arch Manning, they're good offensive line returning, all this stuff. But I've always said that, Mike. It's so true. Thank you. So why does Texas technically have a better roster, right? Well, it's mostly because of the amount of 5 stars and high 4 stars. They are loaded. They're actually the number 1 team in the country in terms of their roster construction when it comes to high 4 stars and 5 stars. So that's kind of why, is because they are just completely, what's the term for it? They're top heavy. They're very top heavy in terms of the talent. They just have a ton of high 4-star, and 5-star guys. But A&M as a percentage has more overall blue chips on their roster, 6% more than Texas, and again, number 4 overall in the country. So this roster is loaded with talent as well. You got to be excited there if you're an Aggie looking at that. Now, recent results here, that's where you can see the trend. 2023, that's the last year of Jimbo Fisher. Aggies go 7-6, 4-4. Jimbo gets fired after the Mississippi State game after blowing out the Bulldogs one more time. Mike Elko gets hired 2024, 8-5, 5-3 in the conference, has a chance to go to the SEC title in the final game of the season against Texas, lose that game, and you're out of the SEC title game. You kind of had a crash late in the year as well. Start the year 7-0, and then you kind of fade down the stretch. But then 2025, boom, breakthrough. 11-2, you make a college football playoff, and you go 7-1 in the conference. And again, you have one game in order to get to the SEC title, and Texas keeps you out. So that's kind of the hurdle there. We can all understand that. We can have our bias glasses off and say that Texas A&M does not have a Texas problem yet, but they definitely need to get over the hump with that. I think 3 there is going to be a trend. If Texas beats the Aggies in year 3 of Mike Elko, 3 in a row, he can't beat Texas. That's going to be the narrative without a doubt. So we'll look at that game a little bit later. But the trend line is really good for A&M. And so between the trend line, their college football playoff berth last season, and then also a lot of what they have returning. You got a quarterback in Marcel Reed coming back, and a lot of returning talent, which I'll talk about a little bit later. That's where I landed on 9 Biscuits. So Hammer, talk to me. What do you think there? Is 9 correct? Would you have gone 12? Would you have gone 6? Where would you have gone?
I think 9 is fair. You have a 11 win season a year ago. 2 years in a row, you've been 1 win away from going to the SEC title game. Fortunately, Texas got the best of the Aggies in both of those, but I think that's reasonable. I certainly don't think A&M is, the 10 biscuit top tier level yet. That's just not something that our Aggies have been able to show consistently enough. So I think 9 is fair, especially with, like you said, the talent on the roster and the trend that Elko seemingly has the program going through his first 2 seasons.
Appreciate it. Glad you agree.
Yep.
And the words you said right there is exactly why I couldn't go higher, is because I think when you're talking about that elite level, when you're getting up to 10 to 11 to 12, that's where the consistency comes in. Consistency is the key word there. A&M has not been consistent there. The other one that I rated a 9, the Oklahoma Sooners, same thing. Like consistency in their history, consistency when they were in the Big 12, but since Brent Venables has become the head coach and since they've come into the SEC, it's been a roller coaster and the consistency hasn't been there. But you saw last year that they were right on the cusp of, they make the college football playoff. Now let's show it on consistency, and you're a dark horse to win the conference. If you can show me again, win 9 games, win 10 games, get into the playoff, be in contention for an SEC title berth into the end of the year, then I think we're starting to talk about, okay, now you're talking about 10, 11, 12 biscuits type of territory. So, all right.
Yeah.
Here's some of my, go ahead.
I was to say that's been A&M's consistent for years, or not consistent issue for years is consistency. And so Mike Eccles' first year, you go 8-4, good year, improvement over the previous regime, and then you go 11-1, amazing year. What do you got for me now? Can you keep it going? Even if it's not 11-1, can you stay in that level of relevant, competing for the conference or making the playoff or being right on the doorstep type of a team?
Exactly. So, all right, let's get into this here. Here's some of my key lead points. This team is extremely talented. There's 3 questions here that I think are what are leading us into the season and what need to be answered as to whether or not this is going to be a team that has that consistency, that wins 10 games or more again, that has a potential to get to the college football playoff, or if they take a slight step back. The number 1 question there, which everybody in the national media has been talking about it, is Marcel Reed. Can he take that next step, right? What does that even mean? I'll get into it a little bit later when I get into the roster, but I think it's about what's up here, what's between the ears. And that's the first question. The second question is the offensive line. Can those guys gel quickly? You lose 4 out of 5 starters. You bring in some talent, or maybe more like experience. And does that experience translate? Are they able to gel well? Because a lot of even Marcel Reed's development, and can he take the next step? A lot of that, I think, hinges on this offensive line, and can they protect him? And can they get a running game going? A&M's had trouble running the ball at times, even with a Le'Veon Moss, but especially when Le'Veon Moss was hurt. So can that offensive line get some push to get this running game going? And then the third and final question I have on my lead points here is A&M lost a lot, okay? Their returning production, it sits at number 14 overall in the country. So they have a lot of returning production. Number 5 in the SEC. It's 65% in total. But then you start to think about like what did they lose? They lost KC Concepcion at wide receiver. They lost who's our
Mm-hmm.
friend on the defensive end. I'm blanking on his name right now. Cassius Howell.
Cassius Howell.
They lost Cassius Howell. So there were some big. You lost Will Lee, the blanket, at cornerback. Big names that made big contributions last year. Albert Regis in the middle on the defensive line. So Torian York, 4-year starter at linebacker. He's gone as well. Scooby Williams at linebacker. He's gone. So there are names that are no longer on this roster that even though they return a lot in production, some of the guys they lost, it was a big chunk of their production. So that third question then is, did A&M do enough in the portal in order to fill those holes? And did they stay at the same level? Did they downgrade or did they upgrade? And we're going to find that out throughout the season as to how these things go. So
yeah,
I'm gonna move down here into the nitty gritty that we like to talk about here. That nobody else really talks about this stuff, okay? But I think this stuff really matters, and it's about the administration, like the behind the scenes stuff. What's going on with the program as a whole? The administration, the facilities, and the investment that's going on into facilities and NIL and all that. So with the administration, this is actually, I was talking to a friend about this today, and this is where A&M has a serious problem, and they've had a problem with it for a long time, frankly. And I think it has actually really hurt A&M's football program in terms of they haven't had everybody pulling the same sled in the same direction for a consistent and prolonged period of time. And what I'm talking about here, here's some stats to illustrate that. A&M has had 9 different presidents since 2010. That includes interim presidents, acting presidents, and actual presidents. It has been pretty much consistent turnover since 2010 at the president position. 9 presidents since 2010 is crazy. They've had 7 athletic directors. It's crazy. They've had 7 athletic directors since 2010. So we're just playing musical chairs with the presidents and the athletic directors.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but let's even go down from that. Since 2010, how many coaches has Texas A&M had? Sherman, Sumlin, Jimbo, and now to Elko. So you've had 4 different head coaches since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So from blunder of hires, right? From Sumlin, who looked like a home run, crashed and burned, he was a meteor. Jimbo looked like a home run, crashes and burns, he's a meteor. Mike Sherman wanted no smoke of the SEC, so they said sayonara. Bad decisions from administration. Their board of regents has been all over the place. So that's the main thing to take from A&M's leadership is that it's been woeful. You've had one constant there, and that's John Sharp, who's been the chancellor at A&M. He was a longtime chancellor. He's gone now as well. He retired, I think last year or 2 years ago. So now it's Glenn Hagar, a former politician in Texas, who is the new chancellor. So it's just been constant turnover. You now have Trev Alberts there at AD, pretty solid. I think you got to feel good about him. So far, I have had good impressions of him. And
Yeah.
they just hired a new president whose tenure literally began like yesterday. May 11th, 2026 was when she started. Dr. Susan Ballerina. No, Balbina. Yeah. So it's been nuts in terms of what's going on up top with the leadership. So that's all got to settle down. And I think it's actually one of the biggest things that nobody talks about that has held A&M back at an institutional level for a long time. That doesn't mean they haven't been spending on the facilities and everything else, okay, or on making sure this football program needs what it needs. Kyle Field opened in 1905. This thing's like 120 plus years old. They completely overhauled it after 2013. The house that Johnny built is what everybody knows of it, right? When I graduated in 2014, so I think it opened right after I was gone. So you got to see it for your entire tenure, almost your entire tenure at A&M. Was the cathedral, the house that Johnny built, this beautiful new and improved and revamped Kyle Field. Uh,
Yeah.
A&M can
Yep.
A&M.
Yeah. I was. I'll say I graduated in 17, so it was
Yep.
there fully done. I think for 2 or 3 years. I can't remember, but 2 or 3 years. It was fully done.
I think it was
And
3.
pretty sick.
So 15, 16, 17. It opened in August of 15, so you got the full 2015 season. So 15, 16,
Yeah.
17. Yeah.
Well, I
Well, that's
graduated in spring of 17, so I
right. So you
missed
got
I
2.
missed that fall.
You got 2.
Yeah.
Uh, so A&M made a massive investment in doing that. It was $450 million renovation of Kyle Field. Then ever since then, they've just been putting in all sorts of stuff, right? Like some new premium seating has gone in. You've got new and improved concourses. A&M has improved all the concessions. They got LED lights last season, improving the Wi-Fi, as multiple others are doing around the conference right now. So they're making a bunch of improvements. They also did a massive renovation of the Bright football complex. I think that opened maybe Jimbo's last year, so that would have been 23 is when that one opened. And
Yeah.
if you go check that out on YouTube, what they did with that is it's awesome. So everything you need to win at Texas A&M is there, despite all of the craziness at the top with the leadership. They have raised money, they have spent a bunch of money on the program. So next, you just got to get some institutional stability at the top with the president, the AD, on down to coach. And seems like we're there for now, right? Let's hope that Trev Alberts is there for a long time. Let's hope that Mike Elko is here for a long time. And same with Dr. Balabina, the president of A&M. So moving in here to another investment, NIL. As you mentioned, this is all in flux because of the House settlement and what's going on with the Protect College Sports Act and all that. But A&M right now has 2 things going on. Okay, they have Texas Aggies United, which is part of like Texags. Texags does a lot of that. If anybody out there, you're an Aggie, you listen to Texags, I'm sure you've heard them talk about Texas Aggies United, which they do a bunch of podcasts and different things to raise money for these different athletes. And then the other thing, they just launched this last fall, I believe. It was called Aggie NIL. So that's the one that's under A&M's athletic department. And it's also doing things in tandem with Texas Aggies United. So everybody's like trying these little tweaks and different things as to how they run these. That's
Yeah.
what A&M's got going on right now. They're having no trouble raising money. They're spending money like crazy. 2026 looks like their roster is roughly valued around 32 million, according to the NIL standard, the estimate service that we've been using. Interesting to note there, that's third in the SEC, so that's pretty good, right? Who's that behind? Texas at number 1, LSU at number 2. That's about 15 million estimated behind Texas and about 8 million behind LSU. So that's a couple of really good players right there. Even for Texas, a handful, so that they're
Yeah.
spending a lot of money at the top.
A lot.
A lot. All right. Quickly, let me get into the coaching staff. All right. So the coaching staff, I want to highlight just a couple of things here. One is that you got a new offensive coordinator. It's now going to be Holman Wiggins, and you're moving on from Colin Klein. Colin Klein did a very good job for 2 seasons in Aggie land. Now he's headed back to Kansas State, to Manhattan, to the Little Apple to help out his alma mater. So congrats to him. Good luck to him. Holman Wiggins has been the wide receiver coach for a couple years now, and I think he was a co-OC technically for the last couple years. So they did an offensive coordinator search for about a month, and then they ended up just saying, actually, we're going to promote from within. We're going with Holman Wiggins. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. What are you expecting out of Holman's Wiggins offense? Are you expecting a lot of what we saw from Colin Klein, just kind of like a retread, or is there going to be a little bit of variation?
Man, that's a good question. I think the reality is we don't really know. Seeing as he's never been an OC before and been in charge of calling plays, right? I think probably it's going to be similar. I know his previous stop was Alabama, so maybe he pulls some stuff from there. But I think the reality is yes, and what I mean by that is you're probably going to see almost exclusively shotgun, kind of that zone read spread with window dressing pre-snap. Really, really nitty gritty scheme stuff is probably over my head, but I would assume it's going to look quite similar to what Klein was running. But I tend to be excited about it. Obviously, you can look at it two ways. Like, you hire an offensive coordinator with no experience. Why are we doing this? But at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, hey, somebody's got to. You have to have your first coordinator job at some point if you're going to rise in the ranks. So I just kind of trust Mike Elko here. If he feels like Wiggins is ready, then I think he probably is. And he's been around a long time. He's been a coach, at the SEC level since I think 18 or 19 is when he joined the staff at Bama. So he's been in the league a long time. I tend to think, again, if Elko thinks he's ready, I think he probably is too. And I suspect he's very well liked by the players as well. I mean, I've heard that, and he recruits very well. But I think for a continuity perspective for Elko, maybe that was important to him or important to some of the guys that he stick around, because if you bring in a new coordinator, you never really know what happens, right? He may want to bring his own staff underneath him. So it worries me a little bit to have a new first-time play caller, but I trust in Elko and trust in Wiggins' experience that, if he's not ready, it'll be clear. He'll be one and done. And if he's ready, then, hey, you promoted somebody from within who was ready to take that next step. And I applaud that.
Yeah, I'm like nervously excited, like biting my fingernails, I think he can do it. Like, let's go, let's see it. But also, oh my gosh, he's a first year coordinator, and I don't know. Like, we gotta be consistent, right? I want to stay at 10 wins. I don't want to go back to Texas 8-4. I don't want to hear those jokes anymore. So it's going to be fascinating to see. Mike in the chat here mentioned something I was going to get to. Is a great point here. Bringing back Elijah Robinson was massive. So Elijah Robinson, for those who do not know that name, he was the defensive line coach under Jimbo Fisher and under Mike Elko when Elko was the DC at A&M years ago. And he was beloved by the fans. And he ended up taking over for Jimbo when Jimbo got fired. And he was the interim head coach for a couple games. He went 1-2, but his teams put up a fight even when things were pretty bleak. He got the team kind of going. He brought back the 12th man kickoff unit for a game. So he's coming back. He went to Syracuse to be the defensive coordinator for the last couple of years, and now is back in College Station. So that's one of the ones I was going to point out. It is a big deal. He is a well-regarded defensive line coach, which I think is huge because A&M has a lot of talent on the defensive line that is kind of unproven right now. But that guy has a proven track record of developing defensive linemen and putting them in the NFL. So with that raw talent that A&M has, you got to be excited about having Elijah Robinson being the one who's coaching them up.
Yes, 100%.
So two others quickly I want to mention, and then we'll keep moving on. Offensive line coach Adam Cushing. He has done a fantastic job at A&M since he got there with the offensive line and coaching these guys up, developing them. And A&M has, like I mentioned at the outset here, 4 out of 5. They are replacing 4 starters along the offensive line. The only one that returns is the center, Mark Naboo. But what Adam Cushing has done with the offensive line and the way that he has coached under Mike Elko, it's kind of, again, the just sit back, trust Elko. He made a great hire in Adam Cushing. He did great things at Duke under Mike Elko. And so far at A&M, he's done great things. So what can he do with some of those guys that they brought in from the portal along that offensive line? And then finally, I got to mention this guy because he has been the best hire of Mike Elko since he got to Texas A&M, and that's Tommy Moffitt. He was the strength and conditioning coordinator at LSU for like 20 something years through multiple national titles. And then Brian Kelly didn't retain him, and Mike Elko picked him up after a year hiatus from the game, which
Yeah.
A&M has looked much better in terms of their strength and conditioning over the past couple years than they did under Jimbo Fisher, and it's been extremely impressive to watch. And A&M finishes games now, and for the most part, brings the wood to you instead of being on their heels. And so, all that credit goes to Tommy Moffitt and what he has done in a couple years. So, okay,
Yes. Thank you, Brian Kelly.
yes, thank you so much, Brian Kelly. The one thing we can thank you for. Anyway, enough about that guy. So quickly here on recruiting, A&M is look. Recruiting hasn't been the problem, right? We don't have to go too far into this, but I mean, Jimbo Fisher's number one class in 2022. Yeah, we get it. It fell apart. It was a mess. He was chasing stars, and it all ended up coming back to bite him because, like, I looked this up today. In that class, 8 5 stars, right, in the 2022 class, just one finished at A&M. Do you know who that was?
Uh, well, finish like their eligibility, or because I think Shamar
Finished at A&M.
Stewart was there the whole time. Bryce Anderson's still there.
Yep.
Le'Veon Moss was there.
Well, but they weren't 5 stars. Bryce wasn't a 5 star. Le'Veon wasn't a 5 star.
Oh, yeah,
The the
correct.
only
Okay,
five
yeah,
star
Shamar
you
Stewart.
you you hit it, Shamar Stewart. So Shamar Stewart was the only one from that class that ended up who was a 5 star who ended up finishing at A&M. So yeah, that class fell apart. But then look at this, 2025. Mike Elko, he gets the reins, he gets things under control. Number 4 class in the country. This class, most recent, number 10 nationally. And then 2027, look down there at the bottom. A&M is currently number 1 overall in the 27 class. And I don't think that Mike Elko is making the same mistake that Jimbo Fisher did because he was in the building when Jimbo Fisher made that mistake. So I think he's recruiting guys not for stars, but for how they fit best into A&M's program and collecting the best talent that he can. And I think A&M's also paying gobs of money for it. And you can do that now. It's legal.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, A&M's recruiting has not been the issue. Portal, Elko's doing a great job there as well, getting what he needs out of the portal. And he's made some very impactful gets out of the portal. I mean, think about last year. Who did they get out of the portal? None other than KC Concepcion. Cassius Howell had been in the
Yeah.
program for
Portal's
2
been
years.
great.
Yeah, but Cassius Howell was out of the portal from Bowling Green. So yeah, he has used the portal very, very well and strategically.
Yes. The Elko has been a wizard in the portal with plug and play guys, guys that have really made an impact. It's awesome stuff.
It is. So, okay, I'm going to go through the roster here and we're going to try to fly through this a little bit quicker because we're getting late. But here is, I want to quickly pull this up. I made this graphic. I should have made this earlier because I came up, we do these and we've got our structure for them, but we also kind of have our own little tweaks and kind of idiosyncrasies that we like to put into these different Biscuit Index ratings. So for me, when I go through the roster, I came up with my own kind of roster rating system. And I'm going through position group by position group on the offense and on the defense, right? A question mark, that roster group or that position group has serious questions. M, mediocre, on down the line, right? A for above average, strength, and then a S plus. That's your best position group, either of the team, on the team, or that's the best position group at the very least on that side of the ball. So going through the Aggies here, there you go. Position group by position group. Offensive line, M for medium, schmedium. Why is that? Well, I didn't go with a question mark because this is the question mark, right? I talked about that a little bit earlier. This is the question mark on the team. Placing 4 out of 5 starters. You get some talent out of the portal. You got Cohen Eccles out of the portal from LSU. You got Tyree Adams from LSU. You got Wilkin Formby from Alabama, Trovon Ball from South Carolina, and you return Mark Naboo at center. If there's any position you want to be returning on the offensive line and you got to pick one, it's going to be center. So that's good. You can build around Mark Naboo. And again, Adam Cushing. That's why I gave them that mediocre. I didn't give him a question mark. I gave him the mediocre literally because of Adam Cushing and because of what I've seen from him from a coaching perspective in developing offensive line talent. So there you go. Offensive line's a medium. Quarterback, I think, is a strength. People are hating on Marcel Reed, but you know what? The kid got A&M to 11-0 last year, and the last couple of games were not great. We all get that, but he has a very high ceiling, and I don't think he's hit it yet. So I'm giving strength to the quarterback. Running backs, I think that's above average. So you have Reuben Owens coming back, former five-star, getting healthy, should be finally like fully healthy this year. He was fully healthy last year, but I don't think he was still 100% just by watching him. So he should be fully healthy this year. And then you got some guys in the wings here who nobody really knows who they are except for maybe, the most devoted Aggie fans. But there's some guys waiting in the wings who are going to get some carries and who are going to split some time with Reuben Owens. Jamarian Morrow is a stud. Remember that name, Jamarian Morrow. Very good. He's going to get a lot of playing time and a lot of carries. KJ Edwards is a five-star freshman. He's probably going to get some look as well. And then they also have Tiger Ryden, who's a redshirt freshman on the roster as well, a former four-star. So there is talent in this room. And then finally, you saw there S plus, wide receivers and tight ends S plus. I think this is the best position group on the team. And that's kind of insane to say when you think about what A&M had at wide receiver last year. But this season, you've got Isaiah Horton that you brought in from the portal. You return Mario Craver, who I think was your leading receiver. You had even more yards than KC Concepcion. And then you also have a lot of these guys just kind of in the background here that are also going to get some look. Ashton Bethel Roman, he flashed a couple times last year. Terry Bussey, former five-star. Man, that kid, it might be time for him to pop. And he was looking really good in spring. And then you've also got some guys who are new to on the block, but also are just kind of quietly in the background who could really see some serious time on the playing field and could be very solid for A&M this year. I'm thinking Jerome Miles, a former five-star out of Arizona. I'm thinking about Aaron Gregory, who's been getting a ton of talk in the background. He's out of Georgia, former four-star, high four-star. So this position group is solid. I'm very, very excited to watch the wide receivers this year and Marcel Reed being able to get them the ball.
Yeah, I think receivers a strength despite losing Concepcion. I think it's a very strong room.
Yeah, absolutely. I came up Elko, wizard in the portal, right? Gets Isaiah Horton, a big wide receiver that Marcel Reed did not have last year. He's got a big body on the outside now. Isaiah Horton's like 6'9". I wish he's like 6'3". Big boy. But that was needed, and it was missing. It was something we talked about in the preseason last year that, hey, A&M doesn't have this big body receiver. Is that going to come back to haunt them? At times it did. But this year, Mike Elko went and got one. So,
yep.
Moving here to the defense. Defensive line, I think they're above average, at least right now. You got a lot of raw, untapped talent. You got to replace a ton along the defensive line as well. Cassius Howell being number one, Albert Regis as well. So, got a lot of talent. It's just raw. So I think I give them above average right now. Linebacker, I go strength, especially the news today. Damian Sanford is going to be back. I think full strength for week one. Yep. Am I correct?
Elko said he should be healthy by game one. My assumption is, full strength might be a stretch. It depends on how much practice time, I guess, he gets before that, right? I think he'll be fully healthy by game one.
Okay.
I don't know, if they're going to run him out there for 50 snaps, depending on how much he's able to practice leading up to it.
Got it. That makes sense. But even still, no matter, it sounds like you're getting a lot more time of Damian Sanford this year than people thought. People thought he might miss a serious chunk of this season, and it looks like he might be able to play much more than it was originally thought. So that's huge. Damian Sanford's a captain. He played out of his mind last year when Scooby Williams went down, and he's the best
Hmm.
linebacker on this team. So that's huge. So big time strength at linebacker. You also brought in Ray Coney from Tulsa. He was the leading tackler in the NCAA last year. So that's big. And then you got some guys. Man, this room is deep. You got Noah McHale, a former high 4-star, borderline 5-star out of California. I think he's going to get some run this year. Jordan Lockhart as well. He's a stud. So this room is deep there at linebacker. In the secondary, you got a lot of strength coming back there in terms of experience, right? Very talented. You got safety Marcus Ratcliffe, Dalton Brooks, both upperclassmen, both returning starters. Des Ricks on the outside, man, that kid, he's he's solid. I'm excited to watch Des Ricks this year because he really had his struggles in his first year as a starter, and A&M fans were calling for him like, man, if this kid doesn't figure it out, we got to go in another direction. Go back and watch that Las Vegas Bowl in 2023 or in 2024. So,
Yeah.
but he has come into his own. He played very well last year, opposite of Will Lee. And so they're looking at him to be the blanket and to fill in Will Lee's spot. And then in the other corner spot, you've got Ricky Gibson from Tennessee, a transfer, and then also the transfer who has now been in the program for a year in Julio Humphrey from Georgia, both highly rated guys. So, and Tawfiq Byard at safety, transfer from Colorado, highly rated guy. So,
I think Elko said this is the best secondary he's had since he's been at A&M. I believe he said that the other day in his press conference. So he's high on the secondary.
yeah, he did. I think these guys are going to be ball hawks. So it's kind of what's in front of them. Can this defensive line get that push that's needed to take a little bit of pressure off of those guys in the secondary? I think with what A&M has in terms of talent along the defensive line, they probably can. You're just going to need some of that to pop and produce, right? Anto Saka on the defensive line from Northwestern. He's expected to kind of fill in the Cassius Howell role. And then DJ Hicks, former 5-star, he's supposed to plug the middle, fill in for Albert Regis at the nose. It's time for him to shine. He's done pretty well, but he's a former 5-star. Like now is the time he's going to be the starter. So, all right.
Fourth year, I think, of the program, right?
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's move into what went wrong, what went right, what they need, and then we'll hit the schedule quickly, and then we'll get everybody out of here. But I like to start with what went wrong and then finish kind of on a positive note. But what went wrong in 2025? First things first, it was Marcel Reed's decision making. Okay, that was at the top of the list. I think A&M has a much better shot to beat Texas. They don't have the problems with South Carolina in the first half, and even in against Miami. Now, Miami's defense was really good. That's why they were the runner-up eventually, and that was the most insane weather game I've ever been to. That's neither here nor there. But if his decision making is a little better, if his footwork is a little bit better last year, the Aggies, I think, make a deeper run in the college football playoff. That's illustrated by 6 interceptions in his last 3 games, right? 2 against South Carolina, 2 against Texas, 2 against Miami. So the last 3 FBS games he played, he threw 6 interceptions. So that's what I meant earlier when I started this. I said it's between the years. He's got all the intangibles to be a great quarterback. He's a great leader. Listen to that kid in interviews. Love listening to him. He's got a coach for a dad, you can tell. But decision making, he's got to be quicker. Watch his tape. He's double pumping on a lot. He's not decisive, and he also picks up his back foot a lot. He doesn't put the power behind the ball. So he's got to get better on the footwork. So that's the main thing of like what went wrong in 25 that he's got to improve on. That's how Marcel Reed takes the next step in 26 and how the Aggies can have a good year off the back of that. A&M has had a problem with this for so long, and this is my second point. They can't finish. It's not just Elko. This has been a problem with A&M for a long time. When it's like out there for them to just go grab it, take the soul, take the heart, grab this thing by the jugular, take what you want, they can't do it. And they couldn't do it again last year. Beat Texas. Go to the SEC championship game. Can't do it. Beat Miami at home. You get to host a college football playoff game. You can't score a touchdown. So
Hmm.
you got to finish. And that's one of the big things. I know Mike Elko is just preaching that finish, finish, finish. He was preaching it after year one. I know he's still preaching it because that's what the next hump, really the last bastion, it seems, that A&M has to get over. Uh, Another thing they got to do is when it mattered most, they couldn't run the ball. Okay, that was another thing that went wrong. Look at it against Texas, Miami. It just and especially when Le'Veon Moss was hurt. When Le'Veon Moss was hurt, that was the problem.
Yeah. As I say, the 2 years in a row, they haven't been able to replace Le'Veon Moss when he goes
Yeah,
down. They
that's right.
can't they couldn't replace him 2 years in a row. I don't know what the right answer there is because you can't really plan for injuries, but they just didn't have another guy that ran the ball with his style, his tenacity, and was able to get the tough short yardage.
That's right. So final two things that went wrong here: rushing defense also was an issue, and it was kind of when it came up big. Go look at the Texas game. Texas can't run for 100 yards to save their life all season long, but then they play A&M and they run over them, like their hair's on fire. They had like 100 yards in the first half, and then you can't stop Arch Manning on an obvious quarterback sneak on a fourth down that ends up going for a touchdown. So 40th in the country is what A&M's rushing defense was last year. That's not horrible, but in the big spots when it mattered the most, A&M's rush defense, it crumbled and it was a problem. So that's got to get better if A&M's going to improve on 2025. What went right in 2025? It wasn't all bad. You won 11 games. You get to 11-0 for the first time since what, like 1994? I think it was.
Yeah,
So
94.
the ending of the season left a bad taste in people's mouths, but you get a huge win at Notre Dame. You hadn't won a game like that on the road in and forever. You get it done. Even though Marcel Reed doesn't play his best game, he throws some picks, 17 to 37 or whatever. He threw for a lot of yards, but when it mattered most, he made the clutch play. And you get a big win and walk out of Notre Dame Stadium with a win. So you figured out that you can win those games. That's a big deal. It's a big deal when it when it comes to program development. So another big thing too, the pass defense, number 16 in the country. They were really good in pass pro last season, which is why you got to be excited for this season because they bring back a lot of that. And the guys who are coming in to fill in for the guys that they lost, a lot of talent. So one last thing I would say too, Casey Concepcion lived up to his billing, absolutely crushed it. He was incredible at wide receiver. And then A&M has not always done this, but they won the games they were supposed to. They didn't lose any games that they were not supposed to, lose. And they were able to beat some teams like a Notre Dame that they weren't expected to beat. That has not been the story of A&M for a very, very long time. Go look at a schedule, right? And you're like, hey, A&M should win these games and A&M should lose these games at the start of the season. And usually they're going to lose one or two of those games they should win. They're going to lose the games that they are expected to lose. And they might jump up and get an upset here or there, right? Every couple of years. Not the case under Mike Elko. Get to 11-0, and they had a really solid year and won those games they were supposed to, didn't lose the games they weren't supposed to, and then they beat some of the teams that they weren't expected to, like a Notre Dame. So I think that's a big thing to take away from 2025. So, all right, here. What do the Aggies need in 2026? And I think it really just comes down to the word we started this out with, and you said it. It's consistency. We got to see consistency from A&M. Does Elko reload or does he rebuild? And for Aggies fans, we're hoping that it's reloads and that we can keep that consistency. Let's get the 9+ wins with this schedule. Let's go for 10 again. Let's try to get a college football playoff berth again, right? None of this. Let's not fall back to 8-4. We don't want to see 7-5. It needs to be reload, not rebuild. We got to see the offensive line mesh too. It's got to mesh quick. You don't have time to waste, and that is a massive thing. Again, 4 out of 5 starters you're replacing, you gotta mesh quickly, or else this season could go down the drain pretty quick. Because it gets real by week 4. Week 2 you play Arizona State. Week 4 you play LSU, and you're going to Baton Rouge for the second year in a row. Thank you, Greg Sankey.
Yeah.
And then Elko's got a good record with transfers. Plug them in, get them up to speed quickly. Marcel Reed's decision making's got to get better, as we've talked about. And then Holman Wiggins, he's got to be as good or better than Colin Klein at offensive coordinator. So I think that's what the Aggies need in 2026. Quickly, we'll go through the schedule here, and then we'll go through what they can do to earn some extra biscuits, and then we'll get everybody out of here. I know I'm long-winded. It's my Aggies. I had the maroon colored glasses on. They were dialed down a little bit tonight to be as unbiased as I could be, but I was going to be long-winded on this one anyway. So anyway, here is the schedule for the Aggies. That's not the right one. Hold on. There's the schedule
There
for
we
the
go.
Aggies. Johnny Football, baby, JFF. I was actually across Northgate on the other side of Northgate when the Scooby incident happened and woke up to, this is when Twitter was like early on Twitter. I remember waking up the next day and seeing Scooby-Doo Johnny all over Twitter and being angry that I wasn't at the bars he was at hanging out. But anyway, all right. Man, this schedule's tough. Okay. This is the reason that I can see A&M potentially taking a step back this year. Not necessarily because they have a bad team, but because you got to go to LSU. All right. You can't overlook Missouri. You got to go to Missouri. Don't overlook South Carolina. You got to go to Williams-Brice. That's a tough game. The back half of the schedule, all right, from week 8 to week 13, no thank you. Go to Tuscaloosa. Go to Williams-Brice. Go to Norman. Oh, by the way, you got to host Tennessee, and then you got to host Texas. Yeah, have fun with that. To me, and I've said this on some other shows, I said this on Sooner Smiths, I think for A&M to have the season and that consistency that we talked about, for them to get that over, to hit 9, to hit maybe 10, to have the potential for a college football playoff berth, to get to the SEC championship game, or to have that potential, I think that they have got to get to the bye week with only one loss or maybe none. Because those last 4 games, there are landmines everywhere. What say you, Hammer?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the schedule. We'll make our predictions officially, I guess, before the season starts. I'm still waffling on a lot of them. A&M is one of them.
Yeah.
Because I trust in Elko. I like the roster despite losing so many guys. But I think this is a case where it's very possible A&M is, let's just say, for instance, just as good as last year. But they don't win 11 games because this is a much more difficult schedule. I mean, you bring up Texas, obviously, is a tough game. But at LSU, at Alabama, at South Carolina, and at Oklahoma is an extremely difficult road slate in the SEC. And I didn't even mention at Missouri in there, which A&M has handled Missouri lately, so I'm kind of overlooking that game, but that can be a challenge too. So that's a tough slate. And look, this is one of those things too, where, when you go to a 9-game SEC schedule, some years you have 5 home games, 4 road games. Some years you have 5 road games, and whatever, vice versa. Well, this year A&M has 5 road games, which is tough. In the home games, no offense to Kentucky and Arkansas, like I'd rather go on the road and play those teams, because I think we could beat them either way, either place. So it's a little bit of a tough schedule, not only because of the teams you play on the road, but you have 5 away games versus the 4 home conference games, and the home conference games you get outside of Texas. Like, man, I'd rather go on the road. Tennessee fits in that category as well. I don't want to go to Neyland, but
right.
Yeah, going to Kentucky and going to Arkansas, those are games you'd rather get on the road because you feel like you can beat them either place, and you'd much rather get a team like LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma at home.
No doubt. There's also, man, like, can't overlook Kentucky. I really don't think you can overlook Arkansas either. I know you get them at home, and that's nice, but we just don't know a lot. I mean, we just talked about Arkansas. I don't know a lot about this team, and I don't know what they're going to look like. Does Ryan Silverfield, pull a rabbit out of a hat and beat A&M in year one, or what about Kentucky? I don't know what to expect from Will Stein. He did great in the portal. He's got some talent on this
Mm-hmm.
roster. Does Kenny Minchie do a Johnny Manziel and screw us in Kyle Field? Maybe. You know, yeah. I can't overlook those games either. So yeah, there are landmines everywhere. I think the hinge point on this schedule for me, I think it's pretty early in the season. I think it's LSU. I think you know a lot about this team with that game at LSU, and if they lose that game, you're behind the eight ball. If you win that game, you got some momentum. You went to Baton Rouge again. You've beaten LSU 3 years in a row. You've beaten them 2 years in a row in Baton Rouge. All right, like we're a dead gum good team again. Let's go get it, right? So I think it's early in the season there, that hinge point on whether or not I think we're going to know a lot in week 4 as to whether or not this is going to be a good season for A&M.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's a measuring stick for any team going into Tiger Stadium. Are you for real or are you not?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. So far, Marcel Reed has shown that he is for real when it comes to LSU. They have not figured out how to stop him. He is Blake Baker's worst nightmare. So this is pretty simple, though. How can they earn some extra biscuits? Run it back.
Yeah,
Be consistent. Do it one more time. Get to 10 plus wins. Let's get to Atlanta. Get a college football playoff berth. You can do that again. You've earned 10 biscuits. You make a deep run in the college football playoff. You got to 11. Obviously, natty for 12. So pretty simple. That's what it comes down to. Just keep winning at a high clip, and make a deep college football playoff run, and you'll earn some extra biscuits. So there you go. That's the Texas A&M Aggies for you right
that's
there.
right.
9 biscuits for your fighting Texas Aggies. Well, mine and Hammers fighting Texas Aggies. Yo, yeah. Whoa, do that one more time, man. Yo, Joe, gee, jumping up and you got me. You made me jump with that gun. Good Lord. All right, it's a little late, man. Put that gun away. All right. Thank you all for sticking with us, man. We are at almost 2 hours here. This has become the Joe Rogan of college football, of SEC football. So, it's a new format we're trying out. Maybe we'll just go 3 hours next time. But all right, let's take everybody home here. We have got these final 2 segments that we do every single week. We got the biscuit of the week, and then we got our Leach coach of the week. So we like to feature a biscuit each week, just from around the footprint or from our listeners, from our viewers. So if you would like to be featured as a biscuit of the week, please let us know. You can shoot us a DM, or you can send it to us on email, contact@biscuitsandsec.com. So this week, I've got one from our main man, Mike Huseman of Off Season After Dark. He
Yes,
did a
sir.
great job on that show. So he is based up in West Virginia in Huntington, working over at Marshall, great school. And man, look at that. So he had some awesome biscuits and gravy right there. I'm not sure if he's still around. He may have had to hop off as we ran late. But I'm going to find you his description. He sent it to me in the DM, so let me find it for you real quick. But he gave me
That
the
looks
full
delicious. Biscuits and gravy.
Yeah,
Yeah, biscuits and
potatoes,
gravy, sausage, home fries.
home fries. Yep. And then on the right there, that I found that on Google. So that's some just from the same restaurant, the Huck Restaurant in Huntington, and so it's their French show. Here he is. He is here. Hey, Mike. Mike. Yep, the French toast, the bacon, those are also so it's not home fries, but those are just potatoes, I think, and some syrup. So man, this place looks awesome. This is what Mike told me in the DM. He said, out of 5, the biscuits and gravy get a 4.1. That's pretty daggum good. Potatoes weren't
Mm-hmm.
nearly as good, but the biscuits and gravy was top notch. It's a really thick sausage gravy, not runny. I noticed that in the picture, Mike. Yeah, it does look fantastic. And that's the stuff I like. I like that thicker sausage gravy. Biscuits were firm on the outside and soft on the inside. Yep, they know how to do it, man. They know exactly what they are doing. So, yep, there you go. Huck Restaurant in Huntington, West Virginia. Said it's a brewery and a tap house as well. I looked at the picture, Mike, online. Yeah, it looks like a really solid spot. By the way, I just want to shout out these pants or maybe shorts that you're wearing. Let's look there very close. Let's zoom in there.
The houndstooth.
Houndstooth shorts. That is a college football. He's a football guy right there. All that guy knows is football if you're wearing houndstooth shorts.
Right.
So much respect to Mike Huseman of Off Season After Dark for sporting the houndstooth shorts in public, man. That is bold, and we respect that here at Biscuits and SEC.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on here to our final segment, the Mike Leach Coach of the Week. We like to honor a coach every single week that exemplifies the passion for college football, and who other than Mike Leach to name this award after. He did that every single week, gave us plenty of hilarious quips with the media, just some of the funniest sound bites you'll ever hear. He was also a great coach to boot, soon to be a Hall of Famer, and we love Coach Leach here. The Pirate, rest in peace. So this week, this is from a coach we actually talked about tonight. You may be surprised as to who the Leach Coach of the Week is. So here it is.
How are you going to handle being the hunted now that you're at the top? It's like now you got a big target on your back.
I bought a bigger gun.
That's a great answer. Okay, all right. That's you.
I also like that we kind of passed.
You just won the championship again. Like you're going to win again with an answer like that.
Yeah.
Coach, what school do you enjoy beating the most?
All of them.
We were talking, some smack on him earlier, but how about those quotes?
Hey, he's quote machine. He's an absolute quote machine. He's a genius in front of the mic. That's a fantastic quote. I got a bigger gun. How can you argue with that? I mean, that's fantastic.
I like beating all of them. Yeah, his quotes are second to none. So no shade to Coach Cignetti. At least there we have a little bit of a beef with him for the whole Notre Dame thing and the way he's been treating our delicate SEC. Okay. But other than that, we love Coach Cignetti, and he's great for the sport. And man, I love his quips and those one-liners. He is quick with them and very, very good at it. So I think he's already won Coach of the Week. Like he may be our winningest Coach of the Week. He's getting close to it. He's up there.
He's probably very close. Yeah, if he's not the most, yeah. He's in the running because he's good in front of the mic.
Yeah, he certainly is. All right, everybody, that is your show for tonight. Thank you guys all for watching us. We've got right at 100, right close to 100 of you guys watching us right now. Really appreciate every single one of you for watching tonight, for sticking with us for so long, and for watching the Arkansas Biscuit Index, the Texas A&M Biscuit Index. If you guys missed your team that you would like to see, we have most likely done them already. So go check on our YouTube channel. You can go watch the rest of our Biscuit Index series that we have been doing over the last couple weeks. Next week, we got the final two that we're going to do before the season. We've got Vanderbilt and we've got Mississippi State. So maybe not the most exciting ones, but still they're very interesting and intriguing. Mississippi State was on the rise last year. Can they keep that going? Vanderbilt was 10-2 last year. So can Vanderbilt keep it going? They were picked pretty low in the SEC this year. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out together next week when we do the Biscuit Index rating for both of those teams. So, as always, everybody sign up for the Morning Biscuits newsletter right there, biscuitsnSEC.com/newsletter. If you're not already signed up, it is free to sign up. Everything you want to know about what's going on around the SEC and around college football, around college athletics, right to your inbox during the offseason every single Wednesday, and during the season, which we're about to switch to that cadence, comes to you on Monday and every Friday in your inbox. Hammer did a good job getting that out this morning. Also want to mention here quickly, the After Dark Network. That is what we were a part of. Our friend Stephen Willis started that, of Locked On Ole Miss. We are here with you guys every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, off-season After Dark with our friend Mike Huseman. He is every Tuesday in the morning. He's actually doing a lot more than that right now. So just be sure to go subscribe to his channel on YouTube. Just search Offseason After Dark. You will find him, and go find him on Twitter at OffseasonAD. Here is his schedule for the next week. Oh, I did see the UNLV episode popped. I need to go listen to that. UNLV, Middle Tennessee Friday, TCU next week. So as you can see, this man is a college football guru. He goes all around the country, not just the SEC. So y'all be sure to go subscribe to him there. We will be on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, as we are every single week with the SEC After Dark crew. We have a lot of fun on that show. Soon, picks will be coming back. We will be making our picks every week on SEC After Dark. And also, do not forget to subscribe to Bama After Dark, at Bama After Dark 2. That is with Jake Thomas. He does a good job covering the Tide. I think he's about to get that rejuvenated and restarted as the season gets near. So be sure to follow him there to make sure that you don't miss an episode when he fires that thing up. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And thanks for the rest of you guys for hanging out with us in the chat as well. My man, Asian Persuasion. Always good to see you guys there. Okay, quickly again, one more plug here. Go check out our new series, Biscuits and SEC Extra. We just launched that the other day. Our first guest was Chris Marler at Vern_Funquist on social media. He does Locked On Gamecocks, and we talked to him about a preview for the upcoming season for South Carolina. What is going on with Beamer? Is he going to be able to stay above water? And then we've got another one coming out probably tomorrow, maybe Friday morning, with Reagan Scarda of Inside Arkansas, talking Arkansas football as well. So thank you guys all for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We were brought to you guys by the Steer Agency. We will see you guys tomorrow night for SEC After Dark. Adios.
Appreciate it.